Some Africans fervently support Palestine. They want its independence and they condemn Israel. Others, and there are millions, they pray for Israel and claim to be Israelites. They do not know that the modern state, so-called Arab nations, including Palestine itself, today they are all occupied and run by the invaders, and that the indigenous people have been liquidated and are being liquidated and decimated. To discuss this, let us put, as usual, an open-minded and a broad timeline and ask, are Canaanites for real? We are going to use a critical framework that includes discovery of the oldest race, no Middle East ever existed, chronology of the whitening of Northeast Africa, the identity of true Canaanites, eventually helping us to answer what happened or what is happening to the Canaanites. It's very clear that melanin-dominant human beings, Bantus, are the oldest race because we were created simultaneously with matter when rocks were still soft. Our ancestors left their footmarks there. Also, the clock-top spheres, which are 2.8 billion years old, are man-made and were discovered in Africa and were made by Africans. Europeans appeared on the scene 8,500 years BCE, and the Asians also around 13,000 years BCE. So we are the oldest race, which includes the indigenous Canaanites. So here is proof that Europeans arrived on the earth recently. White skin appeared to spread on all the earth about 7,000 to 9,000 years ago, coming from Central Asia. Pale skin caused by gene variants SLC 24A5, SLC 45A2, and the ochre gene mutations. So all these are various sources where you can go and study and find proof about this. It's scientific, it has been proved many times. The other fact is that there was no Middle East, and there is no Middle East. It's all Africa. Because of this fact, Canaan land is in Africa, not Middle East. And Canaanites are therefore Africans or melanin-dominant human beings. They do not look like this. But what we want to look at now is where did this one come from? It's very clear that they are fake Canaanites. The original Canaanite, melanin-dominant sheikh in Palestinian village 1895 looked like this. And all these, including Yasser Arafat, including all these Khalid, Yashid Khalid, they were all fake Canaanites, including also Benjamin Netanyahu and the modern people or Europeans in the current country called Israel. They are all foreigners. They are fighting each other in our own land, fighting for our own land. Here, there are only two Canaanites, him and this one is the only true original indigenous Arab and also indigenous Canaanite. These are all fake Canaanites. The following timeline is very important because it will also show us and tell us where we come from in terms of time. Melanin or carbon human era begins from 3.5 billion years BCE, when rocks were still soft, up to today. The Stone Age is about 3.3 million years ago to 5,000 years ago. The Bronze Age is 5,000 to 1,400 years ago. The Iron Age, the Classical era, the Medieval era, 500 AD to 1,500 AD. This is where a lot of chicanery and tricks have been played. There was no Middle East. Europeans and Pale Arabs, as one as races, appeared on the earth not more than 15,000 years ago. Ancient Canaan then was probably the first place outside of Africa proper where ancient men first became settled agriculturally. Archaeological excavations have shown evidence of human habitation in Canaan from Palaeolithic and Mesolithic times. At the site of the ancient city of Jericho, evidence reveals a settled community and an agricultural way of life that has existed since 9,000 BCE by a people known as the Natufians. Who are the Natufians? These are the original Canaanites. This is where the original Canaanites came from. And the people found in Lebanon today, most of the population in Lebanon, according to genetic studies, 90% of their genes come from these ancient Canaanites. Only 7% comes from Central Europe. You then wonder why Lebanon has been under siege for years. The true Canaanites are the Natufians. According to M.R. Imhotep, the Natufians were the original inhabitants of the Levant and the fertile crescents according to their DNA E1b1 haplogroup, which is the main haplogroup of Africans. Canaanite for real. The Canaanites, we look to other people and other scholars. They tell us from a living descendants of biblical Canaanites identified via DNA that they were a conglomeration of people that were in the Levant, the Canaanites, the Natufians, as we have already indicated, and the other people, the migrants who arrived from the east between 6,600 and 3,550 years ago. Hence, the whitening through the mixing with fake Canaanites using via the genes SLC 24A5, SLC 45A2, and the Oka gene variations. So the true Canaanite is depicted here, and the fake one depicted here. These images can be found in the temple of Ramesses III, who ruled in 1186 to 1155 BCE of the 20th dynasty. And this is a mulatto who is now popularized as the Semite. When you say Shem and Semite, this is the fake Canaanite that we are pointing to. In the Levant, these are the prisoners. They are still showing melanin-dominant human beings. These images are found in the tomb at Saqqara General Horemepo, or Horemeb, according to those that do not know the indigenous language there. The Canaanites introduced a religion, just like elsewhere melanin-dominant people went in the Levant. They produced advanced civilization, built cities. These are and temples and writing and mathematics. These are the cities they built here in Carthage and Megiddo, Hazo, and Lachish here in Jerusalem. And later on, they went to North Africa as Phoenicians and built Carthage. They also gave the fundamentals of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, because they came from one source, from the ancient Cushitic roots, Hamitic roots. So these are the images of the god El, worshipped as God of Abraham, as Yahweh, as Jehovah, and many other names, also as Allah, according to the Arabs today. He comes from the Canaanite pantheon, group of divinities. He's currently worshipped by almost more than half of humanity on earth. This El, Canaanite god. Where is Canaan? The geography of Canaan is shown here. And this relationship throughout antiquity, Canaan was Kemetic territory. Its benefit for Kemet was that it was the primary source of wood. In ancient times, Canaan stretched from the borders of the Sinai Peninsula to the western bank of the northwest Euphrates River. That's very critical, because it will tell us then that Canaanites or Kenyans, the real Canaanites, had also Dravidian admixing. The Dravidians were Cushitic people who ruled all of India and all the islands right up New Zealand, Australia, everywhere. This is the source of the people. Then the Canaanite, Philistine, Phoenician, and Palestinian are shown here. These are Canaanites for real, not the current people that are there here. This is the Canaanite goddess, Atirati. These are the Philistines, or the sea peoples here. Look, they are melanin dominant, and these are the Phoenicians, melanin dominant. Don't listen to anybody who tells you anything else. The word Palestine derives from the Greek word Philistia, which dates to ancient Greek writers' descriptions of the region in the 12th century BCE. Since the fall of the Ottoman Empire in World War I to 1918, Palestine typically referred to the geographic region located between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan. And these are the Jericho or Palestine or Philistines. These are found as demonstrated and taught in ancient Hamid in the Medinet Habu temple. It is very clear that we are dealing with a lot of our own ancestors here. The Phoenicians, by about 1200 BCE, all of the invasions and wars had started to squeeze the Canaanites. Some of them moved north, and some of them sailors moved across the whole world, and many of them are now known to have gone to Lebanon and Carthage and Tunisia or North Africa. This is one of their own, a Canaanite coin of Hannibal, 203 BCE. Is a melanin-dominant human being. We now look at the Arabization of Canaan. These are the indigenous people of Turkey and Greece. You can see this is Bigo Morata, a Greek man in Anatolia, 200 BCE. Now, what happened? It is the whitening of the whole area, which we have demonstrated and shown, and also the Arabization, which we are dealing with now. One of the number of Turkish tribes that migrated from the Central Asian steppe, the Ottomans, were initially a nomadic people who followed a primitive shamanistic religion. When they came into contact with the people, they then discovered Islam, and under Islamic influence, the Turks acquired their greatest fighting tradition, that of the Ghazi warrior. Ghazi means blood. Well trained and highly skilled Ghazi warriors fought to conquer the infidel, acquiring land and riches in the process. The Islamic conquest morphed up into an empire known as the Ottoman Empire, led by one Muhammad Ali, the Albanian Turkish murderer and enslaver of melanin-dominant human beings in Hamit and Nubia, whose name was made famous and given life by none other than Muhammad Ali, the boxer, melanin-dominant human being who was ignorant of all these issues. The Seljuk Turks replaced the Canaanites through the Treaty of Sevres, eventuated in the partitioning of the Ottoman Empire and the forming almost 39 countries: Albania, Algeria, Armenia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Syria, Cyprus, Hungary, Greece, Iraq, Palestine, Israel, Jordan, Kosovo, Libya, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, Tunisia, and Ukraine. The Turks of Saudi Arabia and Yemen had split from the Ottoman Empire by 1914. The Turks of Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya also followed another course. In all of these countries, the pale Turks and their mulattoes, Arabs, maintained complete control of the governments. They were then gifted by their European cousins by the creation of the so-called Middle East, which all African leaders today support. The pale ones and their mulatto media have decided to hide indigenous Canaanites, indigenous Comitians, and the Palestinians and Syrians who were there around the 1800s. 1905, this is Egypt, an indigenous Arab, melanin dominant, at Giza along the Nile with his wife. Hamitians, so-called Egyptian children in Ramle in Hamit, looked like that. And the musician looked like that. Then Arabization and the mulattoification continued to produce the current people that you see there today. Salim Aouda Jahalin, a 107-year-old Palestinian Bedouin, he is the oldest member of the Jahalin tribe. He's mulatto. Another pure Turkish Palestinian Samia, an ethnic Turk teacher in Hebron, being watched by the Gaza Turk Israelites here. No melanin dominant people there. Again, Palestinian Ferial Abu Haikal, an ethnic Turk, talking with the Gaza Turk Israelite soldier here. The Turkish came from Gaza here. These people, with no connection to ancient Israel, moved up into Eastern and Western Europe and then headed for the United States and Israel to become today's Jewish population. You can read the book, The 13th Tribe, the Gaza Empire and its Heritage by Arthur Koestler, to prove that the invaders are occupying Northeast Africa, so-called Middle East. Where is the original Canaanite today? Again, more of Palestinian Tragami family of Turkic origin with their home destroyed by their other cousins, the Turkic Israel soldier or Israel government. The Canaanite is suffering destruction, has been suffering destruction for years, thousands of years. Today, the United States and Saudi Arabia are engaged in ethnic cleansing of Yemen, because Yemen is the only place perhaps left where the indigenous people are still alive and well. before the mulattofication and before their destruction. It's occurring as we are discussing today. There it is. Not even one African country is helping. No condemnation, nothing. We have already identified the real Canaanite as a melanin dominant human being and their descendant, going through mulattofication and Arabization. You can see clearly from this image that the Canaanite statue of an attacking deity, the Gaza or Gazi, left foot forward, striding into combat with right hand held, inclusive of spiritual as well as physical, and whether good or wrong, they all do that. So the Atef crown here identifies him as an Osirian deity coming from Ausari. The real Canaanite looks like this. In Lebanon, the real Canaanite, and in Syria is being vanquished and destroyed. Melanin dominant human governments and institutions are quiet, not even moral support. They are being massacred in Gaza, in Palestine, in Palestine. Africans are offering very minimum support. In Yemen, they are trying to fight, but they are not winning. Nothing, not even a whimper by melanin dominant human governments or melanin dominant human beings. All this and all of them are melanin dominant human beings, although they may have a different religion and follow a different philosophy that denies their own origins. Blood is thicker than water. We must feel some pain for our own when they are being destroyed. The land known as Canaan was and is situated in the territory of the southern Levant, which today encompasses Israel, the West Bank and Gaza, Jordan, and the southern portions of Syria and Lebanon. It's still all Africa. Today is the time for us to unite and to fight and to win and to understand. For more information, if you want to put your hand on this plow, send us an email on join@marifado.com. Also subscribe to our channel, hit the notification button, because it all helps our message to be spread by the algorithms of Google and YouTube. Till we meet again, the real Palestinian is you and me, as long as you have got melanin dominance on you or in you. Till we meet again, your Hamani Topi, Priest Rabbi, LM Tumizulu Kunikenim Jakan Chamskaban, saying, Siabonga, Tatenda, Enkos, Edupe, Asante Sana.